You are lying in your bed. It is 3 in the morning. A floorboard creaks in the hallway, and suddenly, every muscle in your body locks tight. You are not being hunted by a leopard, yet your heart is racing as if you are. Why does the darkness turn a rational, modern human into a trembling creature of the Paleolithic? To understand this, we have to look back 2 million years. Our ancestors, Homo habilis and later Homo erectus, were not the apex predators of the savannah. They were middle-tier scavengers. They lived in a world dominated by saber-toothed cats, giant hyenas, and terror birds. When the sun dipped below the horizon, the balance of power shifted violently. Humans have terrible night vision. We lack reflective tapetum lucidum in our eyes, the biological mirror that lets cats and wolves see in near total darkness. For our ancestors, sunset wasn't just a time to sleep, it was a deadline for survival. This evolutionary pressure sculpted our brains. We developed a phenomenon called nyctophobia, the fear of the night. But it is not a pathology, it is a biological legacy. Think about the environment of the Pleistocene. For 99% of human history, night meant vulnerability. If you couldn't see, you couldn't defend yourself. A shadow wasn't just a shadow, it was a potential leopard lunging from the long grass. Over 2 million years, the individuals who were hypervigilant at night were the ones who survived to pass on their genes. The people who were relaxed in the dark, they were eaten. We are the descendants of the paranoid. We are the survivors of a 2 million-year filter that demanded fear as the price of staying alive. This deep-seated instinct is mediated by the amygdala. This is the oldest part of our brain, an almond-shaped cluster of nuclei responsible for the fight or flight response. When light levels drop, the amygdala fires up. It ignores the fact that your front door is locked and your house is built of steel and glass. It speaks an ancient language. It tells you that there is movement in the periphery. It interprets the rustling of wind as the stealthy approach of a predator. We see this clearly in a 2017 study conducted by researchers at the University of Toronto. They found that in total darkness, the brain's fear center shows increased activity even when there is absolutely no threat present. Your brain is not malfunctioning. It is doing exactly what it was designed to do. It is performing a risk assessment in a high-stakes environment. But why, even in a world of artificial light, does this fear persist? It comes down to the concept of evolutionary mismatch. We live in a world of LED lights, motion sensor security systems, and climate-controlled bedrooms, but our hardware is still stuck in the Pleistocene. We are Stone Age brains living in a Silicon Age world. Evolution works slowly. A significant biological shift typically takes tens of thousands of generations. 2 million years sounds like a long time, but in the context of evolutionary biology, it is a blink of an eye. We haven't had enough time to unlearn the fear of the dark. Consider the role of the hormone cortisol. Cortisol is our stress hormone. It follows a circadian rhythm, peaking in the morning to wake us up and dropping at night. However, when you introduce fear, that cycle breaks. If you are anxious at night, your cortisol spikes. This keeps your brain in a state of high arousal. You become sensitive to auditory stimuli. This is why a creaking floorboard sounds like a gunshot at 3 a.m. Your brain is trying to predict a threat that isn't there, based on patterns established when survival meant sleeping in a tree or a shallow cave. There is also the matter of spatial perception. Humans rely on vision more than any other sense. We are visual creatures. When we lose our primary sense, our brain compensates by overprocessing sound and touch. This is known as sensory cross-modal plasticity. In the dark, your brain turns the volume up on your ears. It is hypersensitive to every snap, every pop, every breeze. You aren't imagining the sounds. Your brain is literally tuning itself to detect predators in the silence. Think about the campfire. For most of human history, the fire was the only boundary between life and death. Fire provided light, warmth, and most importantly, a barrier against predators who feared the flames. Anthropologist Polly Wiesner, who studied the Juhuansi people of the Kalahari, found that conversation around the fire changed depending on the time of day. During the day, They talked about work and logistics. At night, around the fire, they told stories, myths, and legends. Firelight created a protected space. We have been tethered to that light for hundreds of thousands of years. When we step away from the light, we feel an instinctive pull to return to the safety of the circle. Our fear of the dark is a masterpiece of biological engineering. It kept us alive through the freezing winters of the Ice Age and the humid nights of the African savanna. But in modern society, this same instinct manifests as anxiety, insomnia, and an inexplicable feeling of being watched. We call it an irrational fear. Science calls it a persistent adaptive mechanism. Look at how we respond to sudden darkness. A power outage is a universal trigger. The moment the lights cut out, the atmosphere in a room shifts. People stop talking. They look at the windows. Their heart rates increase. This is not because they are worried about the electric bill. It is because the veil of modernity has been lifted, and the 2 million-year-old animal underneath has been exposed. We have spent the last few centuries trying to erase the night. We invented the light bulb, the neon sign, and the street lamp. We have effectively turned night into day, trying to banish the shadows that haunted our ancestors. Yet, even in the brightest cities, we still crave the safety of our homes. We still lock our doors. We still get that cold prickle on our neck when we walk down an unlit alleyway. Perhaps the most fascinating part of this story is that we haven't lost the ability to be afraid. We have just lost the ability to name what we are afraid of. We are not afraid of a saber-toothed cat, but the physical sensation of the fear is identical. It is a ghost in our genetic code. Think about the psychological impact of solitude at night. In the dark, we are stripped of our social status and our technology. We are just a primate in a void. This vulnerability is why nighttime is the setting for almost every horror story, every thriller, and every ghost tale. We don't write horror stories about the middle of a sunny afternoon, because in the light, the threat is visible. We can evaluate it. We can judge it. In the dark, the threat is infinite. It could be anything. It could be everything. This isn't just about fear. It is about the fundamental way we interact with the unknown. Our brains are pattern-matching machines. When there is no data to process, the brain fills in the gaps. It draws a face in the clouds. It hears a voice in the wind. It creates a monster in the closet. Because, for our ancestors, it was safer to be wrong about a monster that wasn't there than to be wrong about a predator that was. So, the next time you wake up in the middle of the night and find yourself holding your breath, don't be ashamed. You are not weak. You are a biological success story. You are the product of 2 million years of relentless, high-stakes survival. That tightness in your chest, that is the sound of your ancestors' ghosts telling you to stay sharp. That is the feeling of millions of years of natural selection keeping you alert. We are, ultimately, creatures of the light. We are creatures of the day, and we have carried the shadow of our past into every room we inhabit. The night is a reminder of who we were and why we are here today. It is a deep, biological memory etched into our neurons, waiting for the lights to go out. Perhaps we will never truly be comfortable in the dark. Perhaps we aren't meant to be, because to be comfortable in the dark would be to ignore the very instincts that allowed us to inherit the earth. We are hardwired to look for the tiger in the grass, even when the grass has long since been replaced by carpet. We are the ones who survive the night, and as long as the sun sets, we will keep looking for the shadows. What happens when you stop fighting that instinct? What happens when you realize that the fear isn't a glitch, but a map? We have spent 2 million years trying to master the dark, but maybe the secret to understanding ourselves isn't to banish the night, but to recognize the ancient, vigilant creature that still lives within it. If we are truly the most advanced species to ever walk this planet, why are we still so afraid of a little bit of empty space? Maybe because the dark is where we came from, and in the quiet of the night, we are finally listening to the echoes of a world that no longer exists, but still defines who we are.